Hey folks, it's Chef Kevin. Tonight I'm making an unusual soup. Most people probably haven't heard of it. It's called Carabaccia, or otherwise known as Tuscan onion soup. It's a very old recipe dating hundreds of years ago from Italy. And what makes it different than French onion soup, which I made recently, is the fact that you use all red onions. The other thing that you use is a little sage, a little cinnamon, of all things, salt, pepper, beef broth, and I'm going to be using tarragon vinegar. Watch how I do it. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is prep the onions. Cut the tops and bottoms off. Cut them in half. Peel off the skin. This is 2 pounds of onions. It's going to make about 4 servings. Okay, I'm just going to give these a julienne cut, which is a thin cut. Just like that. I'm going to finish off the remainder onions and then start cooking them off. I have a 4-quart Dutch oven here. Now you can use a skillet as well, a large skillet, but I don't see any sense in that because it has to be transferred to some sort of a stock pot later. So butter in, a good tablespoon. Couple of tablespoons of olive oil, or in this case grapeseed oil. Have my 2 pounds of red onions, sliced julienne, that's like 1/4 of an inch thick. Put those babies right in there, let's get going. Little sea salt on top of that. Now you may think that's a lot of onions, but by the time this cooks through, there won't be much left at all. You have to cook this for a long, long time.
Hey baby, you got girlfriend Vietnam? Not just this minute. Yeah. Well baby, me so horny. Me so horny. Me love you long time.
Yeah, something like that. I love that scene. You have to cook it for about 45 minutes, so let me get this started. Okay folks, this is what it looks like after about 20 minutes or so. Still has more to cook down. I actually added a large yellow onion because I thought there wasn't enough onions in the mix. I didn't have any more reds, so I put the yellow onion in there. It is what it is. It'll still be good. Okay, I'm going to place 3 leaves of sage in there, and this is optional. The original recipe called for sage. It also calls for crushed almonds, which I do not have. It is what it is. Okay, another thing it called for is a little cinnamon. Totally optional. You don't need much, just a little coating in there. And you may find that this will make it overly sweet, but I don't. It adds a nice little flavor to it. Gonna keep cooking that. That's on medium to medium low heat. Gonna go ahead and add some black pepper as well. Okay, my fellow foodies, it's been 45 minutes. As you can see, the onions have cooked down fully. They're caramelized to perfection. Smells so good. I'm now going to add 2 quarts of beef broth. Now, if you want to keep this on the vegan side, you can use vegetable stock, and you can eliminate the butter from the sautéing portion and just stick with oil. However, I'm not a vegetarian. I like my meat. Okay, I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of tarragon vinegar. Traditionally, the recipe calls for red wine vinegar. I find this to be a lot tastier. That'll add a certain kick to it. Okay, I'm going to bring this to a boil and let it simmer for 30 minutes. Okay folks, we're almost through here. I have a piece of Italian bread. I'm going to cut a couple of slices. You can use any type of bread. I have some grapeseed oil here. Just pour a little on top. Or dribble a little on top, I should say. Both sides. Okay, I'm going to take some rosemary and just put those on top. Not too much, you just want to get a hint of rosemary. Rosemary can be overpowering if you use too much of it. That's about right. Okay, I'm going to pop these into the toaster. Make them nice and brown. Okay, I'm going to take 1 piece of the toasted bread. I'm actually going to put that in the bottom. And then I'm going to pour my soup on top of that. A little bit more. Okay, I'm going to take the other piece of toast, place that on top. Now I'm going to top it off with Parmesan cheese. Italian Parmesan cheese. The final step is to put it under the broiler for a few minutes just to melt that down. There it is, folks, your Tuscan onion soup, otherwise known as Carabaccia. It's full of cheese, but not overly cheesed. Take a little sample here. That is really wonderful. The first thing you taste is the sweetness of the onions. Now onions, when you cook them like I did, when you make them real brown, they become quite sweet. A raw onion is bitter, but when it's caramelized, it's quite sweet. That's the first thing you taste. Second thing you taste is the tarragon vinegar that I put in. It gives it a sort of like a fruity flavor. It's kind of hard to describe, but it's very, very nice. And the last thing you taste, and I kind of snuck this in at the end of the cooking process, is a little sambal oleg. It's a chili powder, Chinese chili powder. It's not a powder, sorry, it's chili paste. So I snuck some of that in because I like spicy hot food. I know that's not traditional Tuscan onion soup, but I like it. Okay folks, well thanks for watching the video.